Dark, let's go.
Yes. Hey, everybody. We are talking. This is probably the latest that we've ever posted. We always post on Friday, or almost always. And I think this is the latest that we've done it.
Well, I
So
mean, you have like 75 shows that you do, so I mean,
it's
so
busy,
it's
and it
it's
is busy.
understandable.
Yeah. So this is fun. We are talking about Peacock, and can you believe we've done this is our 10th episode of Peacock?
I thought that we had done like less of these, to be honest. I was thinking, there's no way we've done 10, and when I saw the number, I'm like, we clearly have done 10. It's one of those where it's like, wow, you don't think you've done so many of those, and then you realize, oh, you
Hmm.
have.
Yeah, because I feel like that the Peacock service kind of was one of the first ones that was new during the pandemic,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, I think you had brought up when it debuted that it was meant to be like a big arm on the Olympics, the 2020 Olympics, then everything
Oh,
shut
right.
down,
Yeah.
and so now it's still there, it's still launched, and actually it's pretty heavy into the sports stuff. I was watching some of the Indy 500 qualifying on there, which is pretty interesting because the Indy 500 is actually on Sunday, and I'll be watching that. Sunday's actually a pretty busy day. It's the Indy 500, it's the Coca-Cola 600, and then the AEW show Double or Nothing all in the same day. Thank God I've got Monday off so I can watch all of them.
I'm glad you reminded me because I do like to watch the Indy 500 because I served my mission in Indianapolis and I lived in Speedway for about 6 months. So I definitely have an affection for that track, and I've been there, and I've done all the tours and everything, and so I've never been there for the Indy 500. I went home in March of the year, so I missed that. But nevertheless, I always try to watch it.
Yeah, it's always fun to see the tradition. The winner
Hmm.
gets to kiss the bricks at the end, and it's literally the only race I know where like people race to like drink a thing of milk at the end,
Yeah.
and they always look so happy when they do it, and it's like, man, if milk didn't bother my stomach so much, I would I
Yeah,
would
I
love
feel like
that.
you'd be so hot, and then drinking milk just sounds so gross. 'Cause
And
I
it
like
doesn't
milk,
hurt
but
it.
it's
It doesn't bother my stomach so much. I guess it just I'm not, like, lactose intolerant or anything. I'm just I you get my point, right?
yeah, no, no, it does. I've always thought that. Oh, yeah, there's just so much tradition with the Indy 500 that it's a really fun one to watch, especially like the later rounds.
Yeah, and Jimmy Johnson's going to be in there, and he's been posting nothing but fast times all week, so it's gonna be interesting to see what a traditional NASCAR guy does on the Indy. I mean, he's been there before, but not in open wheel. He's been in like the NASCAR cars, but
Oh,
in
okay.
open wheel and the NASCAR cars are two completely different things.
So we have the chat room open, and we have the mega chat if you feel so inclined. If you have any questions, we'll stop. We'll answer your questions. So please do that. And we've got some friends that are here, so thank you. And and Ryan. uh, but how have you been doing, Ryan?
I've been doing good. I've been working. I've been training for the swim, which is I'm going to be in your neck of the woods in 2 weeks as of today. It's crazy.
I'm
I'm
so
so looking
excited.
forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be really fun. We are doing the Great Salt Lake Open Water Swim, which is a 1 mile swim in the Great Salt Lake. And this is the time when I always am just kind of like start to freak out a little bit because it is challenging. But I feel like you doing it with me, not only do you have the camaraderie, but also I can't freak out like I normally do because I don't want you to freak out because I know you'll totally crush it. But I mean, I've done it. This will be my sixth time, so I know I can do it. It's just really hard.
Well, your confidence in me being a first timer is greatly appreciated.
Yeah. It'll be an experience that you'll never forget, that's for sure. It's really, like, when you finish, you feel like, "Yes, I did it." It was hard. It was awesome. Um, so it's a very memorable experience, and then we're gonna go to 4 shows.
Yeah,
Very
I know. It's
exciting.
it's gonna be it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, because the local theater is so great here, and I'm just very excited for you to see what we have to offer. We're going to see West Side Story. We're going to see Grease. We're going to see The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and we're going to see Singing in the
Singing
Rain.
in the rain, yeah.
Which I didn't think that we were going to get in because they were sold out on the website, but and this is a very popular, basically Broadway level theater, Hale Center Theater, and so I went up to the box office when I went and saw Light in the Piazza there, and I said, "Hey, do you have any people that any seats separated?" Uh, and because it said sold out online, or can we get on a waiting list? And they were like, "No, we have some." I'm like, yes. So
Yeah, because
great.
I remember when you were DMing me, Singing in the Rain sold out. I'm like, oh man, it's bittersweet news because on the one hand, I mean, it's nice to see a theater sold out. I mean, that's
Yeah,
always
that's true.
just is nice to me. But at the same time, it's Singing in the Rain though, and I really wanted to see it. So I'm glad that we're getting
Mhm,
to see it, and Hunchback and West Side and Grease. I mean, I love all of those.
mhm. It's gonna be really fun. The only one I'm a little nervous about is actually Greece, just because we're seeing it the night of the race, and it is actually it's a little drive, so I'm gonna hopefully won't be too tired out, but to really enjoy it. But I think it'll be fine, and so it'll be a lot of fun, and I'm just looking forward to your visit. So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to being there. It's the first
Mhm.
time I've traveled in quite a bit. I mean, even before COVID. So
Mhm.
it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's dive into Peacock. And I feel like your choices are more like legit. I have some very fluffy picks, but but some good ones too.
Well, that's kind of what makes our dynamic work. I choose more of the hardcore stuff. You choose some of the lighter stuff, and
Right.
that way, whenever I choose something light and you choose something heavy, it's like, wow, I did not expect that.
Right. Yeah. Well, what do you have as your first pick?
So my first choice is from 2015, and it is a movie called No Escape. This stars Owen Wilson. It's about a businessman who moves his family from America to Asia for his job. And just as they're settling in, the place that they're living pretty much goes through a bit of a political upheaval. There's a bit of a violent revolt going on, and they're caught in the middle of it. And basically, it's about Owen Wilson and his family trying to get out of Dodge while the nation that they're living in just completely falls apart. This setup almost kind of feels like it's meant for like a zombie movie, but this is not a zombie movie. There's no zombies anywhere near this. I remember going into this having like below level expectations, and I walked out of it very pleasantly surprised. It was actually quite tense. Owen Wilson is the star here, and he's actually pretty good here because he's more comedic natured. He actually has some funny lines that cut the tension, and not kind of like a "did you really have to cut that?" But it's after something really bad happens, the humor is greatly appreciated. Like I remember there's this one scene where he has one daughter in his hand and his wife has the other daughter in her hands, and they're like running, and then they narrowly escape this like big explosion, and they're just waiting for things to die down just a bit so that they can escape to where one of their allies is. He's played by Pierce Brosnan. And one of the girls is like, "Daddy, I'm scared." And then Owens just turns to him and is like, "I'm tired. It's nice to meet you." And I'm like, that's such a nice moment in this
Yeah, that's funny.
horrible situation.
Yeah.
It definitely does not like reshape the mold in terms of a movie like this, but at the same time, I like I said, I walked into it not knowing what to expect, and it was the definition of a pleasant surprise.
Hmm. I never heard of this one, I have to say. Yeah, so it sounds interesting. Sounds like a pretty good movie. That joke makes me think of on How I Met Your Mother when whenever somebody says something like "You're being a major pain," then they go major pain. Don't know why I think that's funny, but I do. uh, but anyway, so that sounds like an intense movie. All right. Well, my first pick is an animated film. I mean, it was pretty popular. Enough to get a sequel, I guess. So I don't know how hidden gem it really is, but it's the Croods, the first one. I think I've already talked about the sequel on this show. But I liked this movie. I thought it had just enough of the kind of manic Nicolas Cage in the dad freaking out kind of role, and wanting to, protect his family. Um, but the real, I guess, strength of this movie is the beautiful animation, and in particular, the very creative, like animals and world building, because they could just make it whatever they wanted because all these animals have gone extinct, so they were very creative with that, and I thought that made it very fun. And it does have a really good voice cast. Obviously, Nicolas Cage, Emma Stone, Ryan Reynolds. So I think it's fun.
Yeah, I find it ironic, or not ironic, but I find it weird that Ryan Reynolds has played two characters named Guy in his film career. He played a character named Guy
That's
in
true.
Croods, and he played a guy named Guy in Free Guy. So
Right.
maybe he just has a guy face, I suppose. But I've always loved
That's a
this
good
movie.
point.
This is a beautiful movie. I've
Yeah.
always said so. It's just the animation team really went above and beyond on this one, and I love I love Nick Cage's I love his character, and I remember watching Jeremy Johns' review of this a long time ago, and he did this like impression of Nick Cage. He's like, "No, you can't go outside because there are things out there that'll eat you." And it's like, I just thought that was funny, and whoever cast Nick Cage as the father really does deserve a raise because that was a good choice.
Yeah. Uh, this is from The Unbearable. This is from Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Things
I've
that
watched
I
Face
watched.
Off and Con Air.
And Nick Cage, he's like, I liked that movie Croods too. It was good. Yeah, that's good. All right, what's your next pick?
So my next choice, sticking with the Nick Cage theme, is a movie from 2003, and it is called Gone in 60 Seconds. And this is not like the greatest movie in the world. This is not like cinema, but it's a car movie, and I like car movies sometimes. It tells the story of a former thief played by Cage who was released from prison, returns to his family, only his younger brother has messed up big time. And so, as recompense, Cage has to go back into his criminal ways by stealing 50 cars in one night. Now, we're not talking about like Toyota Camrys and Volkswagen Jettas. We're talking about like Ford Mustangs, like this from the 60s, and Chevelles, and just like pristine, like Bullet from the Steve McQueen Bullet cars, like those type of cars. And like I said, this movie's definitely not like top tier stuff, but I love this movie for the car chases. Just the car chases alone are worth watching this movie by itself. And this movie actually has a pretty good cast. Angelina Jolie is in here as Nick Cage's love interest. Robert Duvall plays the dad. Giovanni Ribisi plays the brother. This is a very heavy-handed cast, and like I said, people kind of dunk on this, but I just love it. I don't want to say it's a guilty pleasure, but I mean, I've always had a ton of fun with this.
Mhm. I've never seen it. I have heard the dunking, but But I'm not much of a car person, so I don't know if it's for me. But I'm sure my friend Stanford would love it because he loves cars.
Yeah, the last scene where, or not the last scene, but the in the third act where Nick Cage has to get the 50th car, and he's named it Eleanor, and it's the '69 Mustang. That scene is worth just watching by itself. It's so well done.
Hmm. Cool. All right. Well, my next pick is a indie animated film. It's from a director named Remy Chaillet, and it's called Long Way North. And this is a really cool movie about this young girl in the turn of the century that she has dreams of being an explorer. Her grandfather is a great explorer in the North Pole in Antarctica, and so she, uh, she she decides that she's going to go up to the North Pole, and when he turns up missing, and they don't know where he is, and so he goes she goes up to the North Pole and goes on an adventure. And what's really cool about this movie is that there's no lines. Like normally in an animated film, you have the lines over in a 2D animated film. You have the lines, but this is
Hmm.
all done through sort of color blocking. So you'll have the end of the color, but it's actually not a like a black line. And I don't know. So it has a really cool color palette and design to it. And I really, enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. I got to interview the director, Remy Shea, way back when I first started uh, writing for Rotoscopers. It was one of the first interviews I ever did. So that was a lot of fun. Um, and I just really like the style, and I think it's just a fun adventure. So I think a lot of people would enjoy this one. I think this is what we really talk about when we talk about hidden gems, I think.
Yeah, I remember. Uh, was the Remy guy? Was he nice?
Oh yeah, yeah, very nice. It's hard because there's like a language barrier, so that's it's a little bit challenging with um, but uh, working with the translator and everything. But yeah, no, he was great, and I enjoyed getting to talk to him about his inspirations, his style, and everything. Um, so yeah, that was one of the like I said, one of the first interviews that I ever did. So all right, what's your next pick?
So my next choice is a bit of a hard left. This is from 2019. This is directed by Todd Haynes and is called Dark Waters. This starred Mark Ruffalo, Anne Hathaway, and Tim Robbins, who is completely unrecognizable in this. Look up in Google Dark Waters Tim Robbins, and you will be floored because the dude does not look like himself at all. But side road. This movie is based on an unfortunate true story about a defense attorney who learns of several deaths being linked to someone seemingly poisoning the water in a small Pennsylvania town. And well, basically, this is one of those movies kind of like Spotlight, where you take a thread, and the more you pull on the thread, the more disturbing conclusions that you will find. This is not an easy watch. I remember watching this in the theater with my mom, and I just was like, oh, wow, this is definitely not a popcorn movie. This is some serious stuff. And this is a very well made movie. Mark Ruffalo is really good in it. I think this is the best that I've ever seen from him. I haven't seen like Zodiac and some of his other more lauded stuff. I will one day. But from what I have seen of him, this is, I think, the best performance of his. Like I said, Tim Robbins is completely unrecognizable, but he is still really good as the as the townsman. Anne Hathaway is really good as Mark Ruffalo's wife in the movie. And like I said, this doesn't have large explosions. It doesn't have car chases. It's trying to have a message, but it's I guess it's weirdly open about that, and it's something that I did appreciate. And Ruffalo has some good monologues in here. I don't think they're as good as his Spotlight one, where he's like, "No one should get away with this." I'm sure you all know the
Mm.
monologue I'm talking about, but he's definitely got some good lines in here. And at the end of the day, this is, like I said, not an easy watch by any stretch, and will make you look at your pots and pans very differently. However, I do give it a recommendation.
I haven't seen this one. I do like Todd Haynes a lot as a director. The only thing I remember about this movie is that I that I that the for some reason it seemed like none of his suits fit in the it seems like he's like his suits are wearing him in the trailer. I was just like,
Yeah,
what was wrong with the costume designer? Why didn't he make they make his suits fit? But I didn't I meant to see this, but I just it was one of those ones that I didn't see. So it's good to hear that you liked it, that it was rewarding.
yeah.
So
Also Victor Garber is in this, and he's really good as well.
cool. Well, mine is definitely a big step down from a Todd Haynes directed film with Mark Ruffalo and all those great actors. This is not a great movie, but I have nostalgia for it. Um, it's called Charlie, and this is a local Latter Day Saint Mormon film, I guess. So I don't know how much traction it really would have outside of people of my faith, but it's kind of a classic, and it came out in 2002 when I was going to BYU, which is the church school here. And it's basically a Nicholas Sparksian kind of story. Might as well be Nicholas Sparks, except for it has a faith element in it. And it's about this guy named Sam who meets this woman who's basically a manic pixie dream girl, which again, I'd usually totally hate that. But again, I watched this at just the right time. She's all quirky and different and inspiring him to get out of his shell. And of course, she starts to become aware of the faith and have a faith transition. But I think this movie is actually like for this kind of movie, it's actually pretty well done as far as if you want to watch a Nicholas Sparksian type of story, and you know what usually happens to people in Nicholas Sparks movies. So I won't. I'm not going to spoil, but be prepared. Have the tissues ready. And I think it's decently acted. If you're in the mood for one of these kinds of movies, I think it's as good as any of those kinds of movies. So if you're in the mood for a Nicholas Sparksian type movie, this is this is fine.
And you say this is leaning more towards Mormon stuff? Is that right?
Well, it just has that element. So it has
Oh,
everything that you would have in a Nicholas Sparks book, but she converts to the faith.
oh, I
So
gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
So it has that in there. But anyway, that's Charlie. So what do you have next?
So my penultimate pick is from 2003, so jumping ahead a year, and it is Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas. Now, this is, in terms of animation, this movie hasn't aged super great. It was in that weird period of like 2D animation mixed in with CG animation, and it wasn't the greatest, but I'm not going to lie. I think I watched it. It was kind of like you with Charlie. I was just in the right place at the right time at the right age. And this is an animated retelling of Sinbad. If you know this story, then you know what you're in for. The cast is really the draw for this: Brad Pitt, Catherine Zeta Jones, Joseph Fiennes, Michelle Pfeiffer, Dennis Haysbert, and I'm reading that off the IMDb, but it is loaded. Like I wouldn't be surprised if half the budget went just to paying these people. But
DreamWorks loves those casts. Those big
that's
casts.
for sure. And This was directed by Tim Johnson, who would direct Ants before this and would direct Over the Hedge after this. And like I said, this is just one of those movies. Like I said, I was just like in the right place at the right time to enjoy this, and
Yeah.
I've always had a soft spot for it.
I've only seen it once, and I don't remember a ton about it, but I did remember thinking that the spirit woman was beautifully
Mm,
animated. I
mm,
remember thinking that.
I agree with you there.
Yeah. All right. Well, my next one is a movie from last Christmas, and it is called The Housewives of the North Pole. And this is a movie about these two women that are friends, but then they become super competitive over everything Christmas, and particularly also about their children who are starting a relationship. And it was pretty funny, actually. And it's got Kyle Richards in it, who you know from the Real Housewives and also from Halloween and things. Um, and I don't know, it's very silly. It's very they fight a lot, and have shenanigans, and then this their daughter and son start to fall in love, um, and so that's fun, and that's all I really need in this kind of movie. I mean,
You
it's
know,
just a fun little
looking up
comedy.
looking up the cast, I saw Betsy Brandt's name in there, and I was like,
She's
oh
the
wow,
other.
oh wow, Marie from Breaking Bad. The other wife has
Oh,
no chance.
yeah. And then Kyle Selig plays the son, and he was in two movies, like Christmas movies last year, and he was very swoon worthy in both of them, and he's very swoon worthy in this. And I like that. I'm a fan. um, and we did get a comment here for sure. It says grossing 80.8 million on a $60 million budget. Sinbad was a box office failure. DreamWorks suffered a $125 million loss on a string of films. And it is,
Oof.
I think, the last film that the 2D animated film they did, I think, at DreamWorks, because it was such a
Mm,
flop.
yeah, that would sound about right in the
Hmm.
timeline.
So, all right. What's your next pick?
So my last choice is a mini series that originally aired on the History Channel, and it I was sitting there like, so wait, is the History Channel owned by like NBC Universal? And I just never knew. But anyway, the series is called Hatfields and McCoys. This was directed by Kevin Reynolds, who directed Waterworld, which is definitely not like it's kind of a bad movie, but I love it. And he would also direct Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Risen, and a lot of other things. And this movie, or not this movie, but this mini series starred Kevin Costner and Bill Paxton, and it tells the story of the Hatfields and the McCoys, basically like backwoods Romeo and Juliet, if that makes any sense. Basically, two households, both alike in dignity, but instead of Verona, it's the backwoods of Kentucky where they lay their scene. And just basically, it's about two feuding families. There's a romance, a lot of shooting, and a lot of death. But I'm not gonna lie, I watched this when it dropped, and it was in like it was in the middle of my heavy History Channel watching phase when I was watching like reruns of Pawn Stars on loop and American Restoration and all that. On top of that, their original stuff like this and the Vikings show and others. I do have a soft spot for this. I mean, Kevin Costner's in it and he does a really good job. The late Bill Paxton, may he rest in peace. He does really good here too. This is definitely not for the faint of heart for the History Channel for like a TV miniseries. They actually get away with quite a bit, and I honestly think it's the better for it. So
Mhm.
go into it with a bit of a cast iron stomach, but I do give it a bit of a recommendation.
Yeah, I actually watched this. I am fascinated by the Hatfields and McCoys, and if you are interested in the Hatfields and McCoys, there was a really great American Experience documentary done on them, which was very interesting. And they talked a lot about how sort of the myth of the Hatfields and McCoys and the kind of the creation of the hick sort of stereotype and how that was used by people to kind of control certain people that wanted these people to work in their factories and their lumber mills and things like that, that it was used to actually control people, and that the myth was actually, and they go into the whole history of like how much of it was real and what was part of sort of the media writing up about it. And this is a very interesting documentary. I forget, let's see if I can get um the
So we can
name.
basically thank these two families for getting things like ding 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 like that.
Yeah. It's called The Feud is the name of the documentary.
The feud. I
The
will
Feud.
definitely be looking that up.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting. I learned a lot from it. So, but I remember, like, I thought this was pretty good. It's just an interesting story of
Hmm.
these two, kind of families, and all that they sacrificed for all that they sacrificed for their pride. Um, so we did get, and Jacob says, just finished watching the first two episodes of Obi-Wan. It's fantastic. So very good. I have not watched it yet, but I've heard mostly at least positive to loving it. Um, so I'll have to check it out. All right. Well, my last one is a movie called Parenthood. And this movie was directed by Ron Howard, one of his first films. I don't know if it was his first film, but it was one of them, 1989. And if you are a big fan of the Parenthood show, which I thought was very well done and very well written, then you should really watch this movie to see where it all kind of started. And it's got a great cast: Steve Martin, Mary Steenburgen, Diane Wiest, Jason Robards, Rick Moranis, Tom Hulse, Martha Plimpton, Keanu Reeves, Dennis Dugan, just this huge Joaquin Phoenix, huge cast. And it's you're kind of your classic family shenanigans, chaos in the family. And I think that Steve Martin is so great at bringing the heart when it comes to family. That's what's so special about his Father of the Bride movies, is the moments where he puts his hand over his heart and he just loves his family so much, loves his daughter so much, that it kind of helps you get through and enjoy the more manic moments. I'm not saying this movie is as good as those Father of the Bride movies, but it's pretty fun. I think it's worth a watch. So
Yeah, I remember Tom Hulse is in that movie,
mhm.
Amadeus or Mozart from the movie Amadeus, one of my
Yeah,
all-time favorites, and
yeah,
he has a really bad gambling problem in that movie.
yep, yeah, yeah. And a young Keanu Reeves.
Oh yeah, he's in that one too.
So it's a pretty fun one. So that is our 5 picks. We have, my list is, I have the Croods, I have Long Way North, I have Charlie, I have the Housewives of the North Pole, and I have Parenthood.
And I have No Escape, Gone in 60 Seconds, Dark Waters, Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas, and Hatfields and McCoys.
Yeah, very good. I like our lists. There are a lot of very different. We have a pretty good good group, I think, of movies though. The Peacock has some good stuff. They really do.
Yeah, not to mention, as a wrestling fan, they got pretty much all of WWE's back catalog in there, which is nice
Mm,
for me. But
yeah,
yeah, very nice garden variety there.
yeah, yeah. So Jacob asks us, "What are your thoughts on the new Father of the Bride movie with Andy Garcia?" So that was a big surprise. I didn't know that was coming, and we got the trailer a couple of weeks ago, and I'm optimistic because the original, I mean, the Father of the Bride with Steve Martin is actually a remake. So they've already shown that this property can be remade. And so I try to be pretty optimistic. I kind of wish that it seems like nobody from that Steve Martin uh, project is involved in this new one. Like Nancy Myers isn't involved, Charles Shire isn't involved, nobody's involved. So that would have been kind of nice, but and I'm a little nervous the fact that it's just going straight to HBO Max.
Yeah.
And also the fact that they have the Gloria Estefan and Andy Garcia, who I love both of them, but the fact that they are secretly about to get divorced, and they're kind of hiding that from the daughter. I just love the dynamic between Steve Martin and Diane Keaton so much. And then even in the original, the Spencer Tracy one, I like that dynamic so much that I'm like, oh, I don't think that doesn't sound as much fun to me. But it could be good. I really like Andy Garcia. I actually was just tweeting the other day about he's one of my favorite hunky old men. He's really good. I like
Andy Garcia is legitimately talented, but there is no way that this movie could recreate the magic of how many buns do you need?
Oh my gosh, I know. But I hope it'll be fun. I mean, it's always nice when you get like a different culture's take on a story, and this has got an all Latino cast, and so I'm trying to be optimistic, but we'll see. So I actually haven't seen the Steve Martin one, and I didn't know that version was a remake. Yeah, that's true. If you want to check out over on Hallmarkies podcast, my friend Marissa and I we did a ranking of all 4 Father of the Bride movies, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, it has Elizabeth Taylor and Spencer Tracy in the original films. They're actually pretty close. There's a lot of the same scenes. But anyway, let's see here. One more. What are your guys' thoughts on another Steve Martin film that's on Peacock, House Sitter? It involves Martin as an architect, and he interacts with Goldie Hawn. I haven't seen it, so
from Steve Martin's name alone, my ears are perked. So
yeah, and that's another maybe. Let's see here. Yeah, with Goldie Hawn, Steve Martin, Dana Delaney. This was from 1992. It's PG. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I haven't seen it. Have you seen it?
No, I have not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
the only
sorry,
thing
Aaron, I can't help you out there. But let's see if it has. I was just gonna see if it's on Rotten Tomatoes, but I don't see it. So there we go. I think that's everybody's questions. I hope so. And thanks so much. This was always so much fun. And yeah, put in the comment section what you've been watching on Peacock and what you think of what we talked about. And Ryan, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at RyanCam20. And there's, of course, my YouTube channel, which is just called Ryan Cam. I want to give a thank you to everyone who checked out both my reviews for Men and for Downton Abbey: A New Era. They both did big numbers, and like views don't really like weigh heavy on my mind particularly. I just try and put out good videos, and I let God do the rest, for lack of a better term. But the Men one did really good numbers, and I was like, wow, I had to suffer through that movie, but at least people seem to enjoy my review of it, so at least something was gleaned from it. And Downton Abbey is something that I just came around to loving just a couple years ago, and I love that people love that review of that. So I just want to give a brief thank you for that. And then just to preview the next couple of days, I'm going to have Obi-Wan episode 1 and 2 review coming out very soon. I'll be putting up my first reaction to Jurassic Park 3, which I just watched for the first time the other day. Oh boy, I have a lot to talk about with that one. And then I'll be closing out this coming week with Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom. I can't I can't do a video for each of them. I have to crunch it into 2 just to get it over with. But then
Mhm.
I'll have a Twilight Zone video on Monday, and then Jacob, who is actually in the chat, are going to be doing our June preview on the next episode of the Life in the Movies podcast. So a lot of stuff coming to the channel. If you haven't checked me out, please do.
Yeah, you all should definitely check it out. And we did get one more quick question about what do you think about the Emmys? I really like Severance. Succession is a little overrated, in my opinion. I haven't seen either show. You know,
Mm.
I watch more movies than I watch television, but I mean, I don't think the shows that I've watched will probably get much attention. But I really loved Arcane. I thought that was incredible. I really loved Hilda. As far as animation, I love the Cuphead show. Was so good on Netflix. So those are some of my favorites. I also loved Bridgerton, and I loved All Creatures Great and Small on PBS. Those are probably my favorite television shows of recent memory.
Yeah, I haven't seen either show either. I've been looking. I was on the Apple TV app and I saw it. I was like, this seems interesting. And I've been hearing nothing but rave reviews about
Yeah.
Severance and Succession as well. I've heard nothing but good things about both of them.
Yeah. So you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. And we're going to be having a really fun mid-year episode. We just recorded it for Female Film Critics panel, where we're talking about the best of 2022 movies. That was really fun. I can't wait for people to listen to it. So look forward to that. We're finishing up Muppet May on Monday, and Muppet May has done incredibly well. I I'm really shocked. My review on the Christmas toy, I think almost has 2K views, which is just shocking,
Very,
amazing.
very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, wow. I know it's done very well, Muppet May, which makes me very happy. And so thank you very much. And then in June, we're going to start with the teen movie month that I do every year. So that's when I can do some a little bit more mature than than what I normally do for family movie night. So that should be fun. And I look forward to that. And so yeah, check out the channel. And we always have fun here at Hidden Gems. And so thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.